Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
When are we going to figure out this daylight savings time thing?
When we stop doing it.
I understand it's only 1 hour, but the way my body, my brain react to it is like, it takes me a week to recover. It's like I flew across the planet and I'm dealing with jet lag.
Yeah, right now for me, it feels like someone took like one of those chisels and a hammer and just like right on one spot of my brain.
Yeah, just focused lobotomy.
Just took a swing at it and I feel terrible. Like I said, this is the most hungover I've been for the lack of drinking I've done. I didn't have a single drink yesterday and I feel hungover.
You look terrible.
I feel terrible.
What'd you call us coming in the door, Brad?
Soft.
Yeah. You're not wrong, man. I don't deny it.
You had the best reasoning for it.
And I'll say it again. My parents did not come to this country and sacrifice everything to give me a better life, to have me grow up to be hardened by the world. They wanted me to have the luxury of being sensitive to a 1 hour time dilation in my day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. 2/3 as soft as ever, and here to talk about Red Wings hockey, which is actually quite the opposite of late. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
On this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast, we'll talk about the Detroit Red Wings' last couple of games, which have been halfway interesting. I'll give it halfway interesting, because one of them was an absolute snooze fest. We're going to be talking about some news for the Red Wings in terms of lineup changes, some devastating news for Robby Fabbri, a certain goalie being shopped on the trade market, and the upcoming the continuing West Coast road swing what's to come. We'll be talking about a prospect, which we were supposed to do last episode, but the doom and gloom took over more time than we thought it would, so we're going to double back and do that defensive prospect profile. We have some NHL news. And we'll chat a little bit about the world of playoff and Stanley Cup odds, and we'll go from there. Before we do all that, Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA is quickly approaching. We are less than a month away. That is April 9th, Saturday, April 9th, at Little Caesars Arena, Detroit Red Wings versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. And we are hosting an event. We're partnered with the Detroit Red Wings, so pre-game, we are going to be recording a live episode featuring Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond. There is going to be a hangout in the same place that the live episode is taking place. We're going to have food out for you guys, some snacks. The bar will be open for you to buy drinks. There's going to be merch, giveaways. You can bully Brad. You can get autographs from Evan. You can more importantly meet our special guest. Prashant is going to be there as well, Prashant Iyer. And it's going to be a great time. There's Winged Wheel Podcast seating sections. We filled the gondola. It's full. There are literally no seats left in the gondola. It's all Winged Wheel Podcast night. We have more seats added in the lower bowl as well as some upper bowl sections as well. And Evan,
What's up?
What about the tickets?
They are discounted.
They're discounted, baby. Discounted tickets for you to purchase. So those are still available. And most importantly, a portion of the proceeds from every ticket sold will benefit the Jamie Daniels Foundation. And can't forget, the after party is at Harry's Detroit Bar and Grill. We have the entire upper floor, and they're going to stay open as long as we're having fun. So it's going to be a good time. Link in the description to get your tickets, or go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/blog.
I think we should also mention, since it's coming up, we are doing our March Madness pool bracket challenge, whatever you want to call it again. So the link will be going out probably before you hear this episode. So check your Patreon inbox if you're the appropriate tier level. It's always a ton of fun and nobody really knows what they're doing. First place prize this year is a custom Red Wings jersey, as well as a ticket to a Red Wings game. Yep. Since we have to redo this, I can no longer make my joke about a ticket to the Allura Rock. So I ruined that for myself.
Now you know how it feels when I ruin my jokes.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
No.
The delivery is not the same.
No.
So yeah, that starts on Thursday, I think. So you have a few days. And the first time we did this, I thought we had weeks, but apparently we do not.
Yeah, you were saying like
No
March
rush,
Madness.
no rush at all.
I'm like, I think there's a little rush. So yeah, you can start to make your picks. That's how March Madness works for any of you who have done brackets.
Yeah, so first place, that's the first place prize. Second place, we'll figure something out, and then the next prize will be whoever does the most correct picks. So, we'll get that out to everybody tonight before you hear this. So make sure you get that in. I think first game start at like noon on Thursday or Wednesday. So you have until 11:59 to get those in.
I heard that the odds of a perfect bracket are 1 in 9.2 quintillion. So let me just say, if the perfect bracket comes out of the Winged Wheel podcast, Patreon, Red Wings Focus Podcast League, I'll give you $100.
Yeah. You could probably give everybody a few $1,000s and still have several millions left.
Just about. So keep a lookout. Again, if you're the appropriate tier or above on Patreon, keep a lookout at your Patreon inbox to get those picks in. Okay, let's chat about the Detroit Red Wings. They had 2 games since we last spoke, one against Minnesota, a 6-5 loss in the shootout at home, and then one in Calgary to kick off their West Coast road trip, which was a 3-0 snooze fest of a loss. The big story here is the Minnesota game. And we went into that saying, look, one game does not make a season. One game does not make a coaching tenure. One game does not make a player's career, et cetera, et cetera. But if there was ever one game that the Detroit Red Wings can't afford to come out and just completely fall flat, it's that Minnesota game. And look, it was not a perfect game. We saw one of the worst goals against that we will ever have the privilege of witnessing.
Is a Vesatoskala in net?
Yeah, for a second, yeah.
At least Toskala didn't put it into his own net.
But I will say, in all, at least we saw life.
Yes.
That's good. When you just show up to work, that's good.
The bar is on the floor. Right. The bar truly was on the floor after the Arizona game. But no, that was that 6-5 loss. I will say there were points where the Red Wings looked substantially better.
I mean, they scored 5 goals.
The offense showed up, right?
Yeah.
There was the brawl, and I know some people have differing opinions on that, but at least we saw something. Why don't we walk through the game? Let's go, start to end in the goals here. The scoring was opened with Matt Boldy, of course, a rookie on an opposing team. The Red Wings love giving those up. And then we saw Jakub Vrana score his second goal in his second game back with the Red Wings. And man, I understand it's a small sample, but this guy, he just makes a difference. Like, we've said it time and time again, the ability that he has to rip that puck in tight, surrounded in traffic, deceiving the goalie, the velocity off of it, the accuracy, it's like if he didn't exist and you took Zadina's tools and you amplified them to 10 or 100 or whatever you want to call it and said, we're going to make this the perfect version of Filip Zadina. That's what Jakub Vrana is when he shoots. So he opened the scoring, and that was only half of his goals for the day because he scored yet again afterwards on a deceptively difficult shot off of a nice pass from Hronek. How much nicer is it having Jakub Vrana back in this lineup?
It's different. It's weird when goals come from not the top line.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know what we can with everybody with all the roster omissions, we'll call it, due to injury and other reasons right now. I don't know what is the second, third, fourth line anymore, but
there isn't.
It's just one glob of suck. But Vrana emerges from the glob too. Continue. He's on pace for like 70 goals over 82 games with the Red Wings, and I say he doesn't.
Just about. For a second there, he was shooting at 60% on the season.
Very sustainable.
Extremely sustainable, yeah. I would actually probably bet that goes up a little bit. Zadina at like 4% or whatever he's shooting, like, please. Just one crumb.
After watching Vrana's first goal against Minnesota, coming off the wall with very little time to set up and no backswing in the shot, and then just launching an absolute nuke over, I can't even remember, Talbot's shoulder. I'm like, yeah, 60% doesn't feel high enough.
He's with a fully healthy and fully able to play Red Wings roster, which is not the case right now. Like, he is an X factor for that team, because you now have to game plan against actual game-changing weapons across two lines. And that feeds into why Saturday's game against Calgary was so easy for Calgary, but we'll get into that.
That was really the Calgary game was really our chance to adjust to daylight savings. We just were too stupid to realize it.
Honestly, it was. After that was the Alex Nedeljkovic mishap. Ned going into that game, I'm not sure I agreed with starting him, but I do understand and respect the move from Blashill saying, look, Ned, we still believe in you as a goalie. Like, come out, get the start, get us a solid win out there. I'm not sure I would have done it, because we've seen Ned, and it's not been like, oh, just the defense is failing him. The defense has been failing him, but he's also been failing the team. Like, both goalies have been garbage of late, plain and simple. There's no other way around it. And it doesn't make him a bad goalie. He's playing he's on pace to double his games played. I think I saw today on Twitter.
I think he might already be there. No, he's not. He's 40 something games, and his career high was 24.
Which is, it takes some time to get used to. Anyhow, he got the start. There's a puck dribbling into the zone. It was going to the right of his net, and I think he was looking for an outlet pass across his body on the left half wall, streaking out. And
always a great play as a goalie, just to fire it
yeah,
cross body, cross the ice in the defensive zone. Yeah, it seems like a great idea to begin with.
Takes his paddle, swings back like he's what is that, polo, when you have this?
Yep.
Swats at the puck, catches it with the heel of his blade. It redirects into the net, I think, through his legs.
Goalie goal?
I'll count it. That was directly, it was not on net before. The collective, oh no, across the entire hockey world watching that play was legitimately audible.
So you wish you had a trapdoor.
When it literally could not have gotten worse, like if he came out and got shelled and had another bad game, we would still be talking about the Arizona game more than anything. Like, that would have just been business as usual. But someone somewhere must have said, well, it can't get worse for Ned. And then that happened. And look, it was a mental error. I don't think that's a play he should be making. Not a goalie without, the confidence and the stability in net. No one needs to tell him that. You could see it on his face where he was like, oh my God, why did I do that? But it was tough to watch.
Well, it can't get any worse than this.
Evan, come on, man. Anyhow, yeah, the monkey paw curling. What I said afterwards was, if there is a game where the Red Wings step up and show up for their goalie, who needs more than any other time in the season the help, this is it. And I do think that Nedeljkovic got that from the Red Wings. He got a chance to fight back in that game and at least show up to work through the paces of getting over that terrible save, or not save.
They gave him 5 goals and he did nothing with it.
It's better than losing off of that goal.
No, that's fair. He did not, he still gave up 6 goals that game. 5. Sorry, shootout. Count. I think every shot in the shootout went in, though, didn't it?
Shootout doesn't count because it's bad. It's devastating to my argument, and thus it does not count. There were points in that game where I thought he looked like he showed up and made a big save, but of course he still wasn't playing well.
Well, yeah, because the Red Wings defense is still the Red Wings defense, so he's going to get ample opportunity to make big saves, and he did get a bunch. He also missed a bunch, which was kind of the problems compounding on each other. Yeah, I don't know. He was a 9-18 goalie up until 6 weeks ago, so I'm not super rattled about a cold streak. It happens all the time. Goalies have cold seasons. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. It's been bad, and Thursday did nothing to make it better, only worse. But whatever, who cares? The team that couldn't score for the last 4 years is now scoring a bunch of goals. So, we'll take the wins where we can get them.
Yeah, small incremental gains. And speaking of which, Jakub Vrana wasn't the only one to put in 2 that game. Lucas Raymond also put in a couple. Classic Lucas Raymond, Nick Leddy dynamic duo.
Yep.
What happened to Nick Leddy?
So I know what happened this week. This is my theory. Okay, are you ready?
No, never.
Thomas Greiss, unreal game Saturday night against Calgary. Real bounce back game for him, right?
Uh-huh.
Nick Leddy had his best game as a Red Wing by a mile Thursday night against Minnesota. They both saw that Coyotes game Tuesday night and said, we need the hell out of here. So they are doing everything they can to pump up that trade value.
Fine by me. What was it? The spinorama inside the zone to pass to Lucas Raymond?
It was beautiful.
That was gorgeous. That was like,
where did that come from?
Like, yeah, Nick Leddy, that's what we've wanted all year.
It was deceptive when when Lucas Raymond had half the net to shoot at.
Yeah.
Oh, he had more than half the net. I think he put that thing high glove side and it went past the goalie's blocker.
He had half the net and not a guy within 5 feet of him.
Yeah.
Which has not been the case. After the first third of Lucas Raymond's season, players collapse on him instantly because they know, which is how you should defend against him. Yeah, that was excellent. And then after that, Vrana again, that was his second goal with Hronek, who had a great feed. Vrana, that was another example of, Vrana scoring in a way where it doesn't look pretty. And you might think that that's just, any man could have put that in. But
then you do it.
Like straight up, that is an incredibly difficult shot to get the angle, the height, and the velocity on it when it was in so tight to the red line, like that pass. And it was a good pass from Hronek. It's pretty much the only place he could thread it. But that was not an easy finish, and there are very few Red Wings who could have finished that.
It's not even just that it was at bad angle. Do you know how hard it is to take a one-timer when the puck is in front of you, not coming at you or behind you?
Ask Philip Zadina.
It's a nightmare to try and get that. And he didn't get all of it. That thing definitely knuckled off his blade, but he still got enough of it to be able to hit the net and aim it, which is, like I said, unbelievably difficult to do from a good spot, let alone from in front of him.
Lucas Raymond followed up with another goal, again from Nick Leddy. And I should say Lucas Raymond's first goal was assisted by Alex Nedeljkovic. So he had the goal on himself, the assist.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He was close to that Gordie Howe hat trick. The refs ruined it. And then, yeah, it was Leddy to Raymond for Raymond's second of the game. And that was a 4-2 lead, which is about as far ahead as the Red Wings got all game. After that, it was Minnesota clawed their way back.
The Red Wings blew a third period lead and allowed Minnesota to take the lead, as is tradition.
At the end of the period, at the end of the second period, is 4-3. Minnesota had got one back. There was, I hesitate to call it a brawl, but I also hesitate to call it was more than a scrum, less than a brawl. It was a
kerfuffle.
Big kerfuffle. And I think it was Greenway and Nedeljkovic were mad at each other.
Yep.
And they were going at it. Everyone was going at it, actually. It all erupted in front of the net. Talbot came down the ice.
Oh God, it's the best. Right to my veins.
Yeah. Did you guys ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
No.
There's a scene where Neil Patrick Harris's character goes, I can't remember the character he said it to. He's like, you never break up a girl fight. Never. It's that like goalie fight. Like you never don't break up a goalie fight. If you're a ref, why are you breaking up a goalie fight? They have more padding and less range of motion with their arms than anyone else. Do it if it's player and goalie, but if it's goalie and goalie,
if it's player and goalie, don't even break it up.
No,
no. Like Ray Emery when he fought like apparently 3 senators at the same time.
Ray Emery went for that though.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I think Nedeljkovic has probably got a little bit of crazy in him.
He absolutely does. But Talbot was there. Talbot skated down the ice, wanted Nedeljkovic.
Oh, God.
And what happens? The linesman lets the fights between the other players go and breaks up the goalie fight.
There's 3 referees between the 2 goalies. And then everyone else is getting beat down.
Like, if you are a linesman or a referee and you break up a goalie fight, you absolutely drive exactly the speed limit and sit there at the cashier counting out exact change and pennies and nickels and dimes while people wait behind you. You're just the most milquetoast, bland, boring jerk in the world. Just let a goalie fight happen, man. We could have had the ironic Gordie Howe hat trick for Nedeljkovic.
That might have been my favorite tweet I ever sent out, where I made the joke earlier when he got the assist about, hey, he's a fight away from the thing. And then I had Twitter open when Cam Talbot was coming down the ice, and all I could do is quote tweet my own tweet going, oh my God. And it never happened.
Yeah, the players involved, it was Larkin and Eriksson Ek were going at it. Osterley was in there. Nemesnikov was in there. But the big story was Dumba was in early. Raymond came in behind him and pretty much jumped on his back, put him in a headlock, and had him held down on the ground. And it was like, Minnesota fans after this were saying, oh, Raymond started it. And it's like, yeah, sure. If you want to look at it that way, Raymond did start it. Like, he was holding Dumba down and he was pinning him down, and Dumba was livid about it. They wrestled. And what happened after was Raymond's helmet got pushed off by Dumba's hand at the same time as Dumba got around. I don't know wrestling terms, but he got him thrown to the ice. Raymond's head hit the ice and there was immediately blood. And I don't know whether it was his head that was cut or his ear. I think it might have been his ear from the process of ripping his helmet off. But Raymond was immediately bleeding quite a bit on the ice. And Dumba, he said after, he's like, I saw red. Through what looked like a forearm shiver or an elbow, and then multiple gloved punches at Raymond's bleeding, unhelmeted head. It's not in the moment anymore. Red Wings fans, including us, can like chill out a little bit and read the situation. There's no way for Dumba to have known that he was bleeding. I don't think what he did was suspendable. Like, I don't think it comes close to that. I do think it was a shit move. Like, I think that crossed the line in the scope of a scrum. And if you have a guy on his back, no helmet, you want to throw punches, I think that's still shitty. Take your glove off. Like, don't punch a guy with your glove on. Fortunately, he wasn't able to get too much in on Raymond. I think the forearm shiver / elbow to start was, I think that was frankly bullshit. I think that was a coward move by Dumba.
Yeah, everything about that was bad by Dumba. Like, Raymond wasn't throwing punches at Dumba when he was pinning him. It was a classic, hey, these guys are fighting. Let's keep the numbers even. I'm getting you the hell out of there. Because Dumba wasn't a bystander. Like, there's a reason Raymond jumped him. Not jumped him, but like got him out of the pile, threw him to the ice, pinned him. Okay, now he's no longer a factor in the brawl. And Raymond just held him there. He wasn't punching him. He wasn't elbowing him. He wasn't doing, just held him there. Yeah, if I'm Dumba in that situation, I'm pissed because, like, let go of me type deal. But then, yeah, he grabs his helmet, rips his helmet off. It wasn't in one motion, and then threw him backwards to the ice, which was the first bullshit move. And then, yeah, when you have a guy pinned like that and he can't defend himself, it was almost like, what's it called, the crucifix in MMA, where his arms are trapped and you can just tee off on his head. Like,
I don't have a problem even with like the wrestling. Like, I think that's just like the anger and like the motions of what they were doing.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's suspendable. It's just dirty. There's a difference between the two, right?
The glove punch, like, those didn't stop. And he didn't stop because he caught himself. He stopped because people, like, Larkin finally clued into what was happening, as did the refs finally got their heads out of their asses. Yeah, the refs finally stopped trying to spoil the goalie fight and pulled Dumba off, but Dumba was still trying to throw them. And, like, fortunately, in like the tangle of Dumba and Raymond, he wasn't able to swing too much, but the way Dumba explained it was, I saw red, which, hey, at least he acknowledged it. But then he's like, I think everyone was throwing punches. And it's like, no, buddy, I think people were respecting the motions of a normal hockey fight at least a little bit. I understand the code, the unspoken code is sometimes true and sometimes not.
If Dumba's excuse was going by the code, no, he's the biggest hypocrite because
he didn't mention the code, but okay, he was, like he said, everyone was throwing punches. But I just think everyone was.
How the hell would he know? His head was buried in
jersey. You know who didn't throw a punch? Lucas Raymond.
I understand everything that happened that got him to that point. I still think that was a shitty decision for him to make. And then what happened after was the part where I'm like, I'm happy the Red Wings are going after him because he refused every fight. And it's like, you want to punch a defenseless, helmetless, bleeding, and again, he didn't know he's bleeding, rookie in the head with your elbow in your gloved fist. You got to answer the bell after.
Clearly, you want to fight. So
yeah.
Why don't you fight someone who's a willing combatant?
Because the guys who challenged him probably would have beat him, and he didn't like that. That's my whole thing. Like, I didn't have obviously I didn't like.
I mean, I wouldn't be fighting like a Giovanni Smith if I'm a Matt Dumba.
No.
Oh, you lose the right to
I'll
pick.
take an Adam Ernie if I'm Matt Dumba.
No, you lose the right to choose when you pick the youngest, smallest guy on the Red Wings to go after. You lost the right to pick your combatant in the next one. Because again, kind of appealing to the boomer window here, but this is hockey code in every level in every league you ever go to.
We've really regressed, eh? Like,
Oh, you guys have. This is where I've always been.
Yeah. No, but it's true though, because, whether or not we as fans believe it or think that it should exist is irrelevant, because among players in the NHL, it exists. Every level of hockey up until minor hockey, it exists.
Yeah.
You do something shitty, especially to a star player or a young player or an inexperienced player on another team, you better be ready. It doesn't matter the context or the circumstance that led up to you doing it, justified or not. You did it. You're going to answer for it. And we've seen it time and time again. The John Tavares, Corey Perry thing comes to mind. Mm-hmm. Complete 100% accident. Corey Perry did not need to answer the bell, but he did because he knew it wouldn't stop until he did. And he said, yeah, and it
just diffuses everything.
Yeah.
Then
it's over there. He's like, I would have done the same thing if it was reversed. Like, everybody knows. So,
because if it's not Corey Perry who answered the bell, who was it that game? Who else?
Suzuki. Yeah, someone else. It would have taken a run. So, fast forward to the third period. Dumba, it was delayed because Dumba actually took a shot off the ankle and had to leave for a bit.
Yeah.
Which, there's some
some karmic justice in there.
Yeah. But then when he comes back, Rasmussen, all 6'7" of them, goes, all right, time to go. And Dumba's like, nah.
Yeah.
And again, chicken shit move. Whether or not you believe in the code, he broke the code there. So next scrum there was, Hronek ran across the pile and grabbed him.
If there's a guy I'm fighting on the Red Wings and who challenged me, it'd be Hronek.
Yeah.
Hronek's a little bit of a crazy person.
He's got crazy eyes.
Yeah. I honestly, if I'm Dumba's size, I think I would rather take Rasmussen. But Rasmussen is a big dude, so you don't know.
You have no reach whatsoever. You'd have to get on the inside.
But yeah, so then Dumba backs down and was completely refusing to answer the bell. And that's where my big problem started with him. It's like, yeah, you see red in a scrum. It's not an excuse, but I think everybody understands it. It was like the Tom Wilson with Panarin thing. We all knew it was bullshit, but we all understood. And the argument was, well, you need to be able to control yourself. Same argument here, man. We get it. You're still wrong, but we get it. Now you got to answer.
And it gave us basically the greatest hockey fight game of all time after that.
Yeah.
In the past 10 years, at least.
Yeah. And it's a storyline to this day.
Yeah.
To this day.
They went out and got Ryan Reeves. And he was teaching guys how to fight.
And you know who that hurts? And I'm sorry to stick on this topic for so long, because there's definitely people who are done with it are like, oh my God, guys, we get it. You're angry that the young star got beat up on. But who this hurts if you're Dumba? You do this, you pull this shit often enough, someone's going to run Kaprizov.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, someone's going to run Kaprizov. And is that a shitty thing to happen? Yeah, that sucks. You don't want that to happen. And I'm not the kind of person who will go so far as to say, okay, then run Kaprizov. But if you do that, and if you take shots and you lose your cool and you make a mistake like that, and you want to take those glove punches at a young star on another team, if you don't answer the bell, it'll be your young star next time, and your fans will be angry, and it'll be their blood, and it's going to be a whole thing, because hockey's just a sport full of cavemen beating their clubs against their chest, asking for blood because nobody chills out, because that's not what the sport is.
It's high octane, high testosterone.
All it takes is one guy. There's 20 guys on the roster, 18 skaters every game. If 17 players are really pissed about it, but they're only going to fight Dumba because they know that's what you're supposed to do, but Dumba's backing down, that 18th guy might do what Ryan's saying and be like, all right, fine, you're not answering my bell. Where's Kaprizov? Again, it's dumb, old school hockey bro code garbage. But it happens whether people want to admit it or not.
Well, Dumba didn't answer the bell, so I'm looking forward to next season's game against Minnesota.
This is the thing. He's lucky they're in different conferences, because if this was Buffalo, Florida, Toronto, this is going to be a consistent problem. Now he's a la what's going on with the Rangers and Capitals. That's a whole lot of garbage that shouldn't happen, but it's going to happen. So, yeah, it is it is what it is. It's the Jamie Benn thing. Do you think we'd still be talking about this if someone scrapped Benn that night and that was the end of it? No, that would have been the end of it. Nobody would have talked about it, but he never answered the bell for it. And, we're a year and a half later, and every time Dallas comes to town, oh, is this the night? Even though we know it's not going to be.
I mean, Jamie Benn's like almost Ryan Reeves level. Like, that guy's not going to lose a fight, though.
He's a bit of a mutant.
He's a freak. Well, the rest of the game went, Minnesota took the lead and off of goals from Boldy and Kaprizov again. The Red Wings obsessed with giving young stars some stats. And Jordan Osterley, who only scores clutch goals, his second goal of the year off of a great zone entry and setup by Filip Zadina. Honestly, fantastic play. I don't know if it was actually the zone entry, but Zadina, yeah, it was. He actually took it end to end pretty much. And set up Jordan Osterley, who made no mistake ripping it home. And you're just like, I don't care that you don't score. If you only ever score like this, I'm all in.
Just got to keep him around for the playoffs.
Final 3 minutes of a game or overtime, the other 57 minutes do not matter.
Yeah. It's a shame that game ended in a shootout.
I know.
Games like that make me want to get rid of the shootout completely. Just endless OT. Unfortunately, it went overtime. Nothing went in the net, and Minnesota won the skills competition. So it was a 6-5 win. I have to say, was it a good goaltending game? No. Was it a good defensive game? No. I was happier though, knowing how this back end of the Red Wings season is going to go. I was happier watching that game. Like, I'd rather lose 6-5 in a shootout than 9-2 against the Coyotes. Quite obviously, but still.
I was gonna say bold statement there.
No, but like I almost walked away from the game happy as a Red Wings fan, knowing where they are right now. You can't expect.
You like to see some juice, some energy.
And Minnesota's a good team. They've been cold. They were cold going up until that game, but they're a good team, right? Put in 5 against them, fine.
Yep.
The defense, you're not going to magically get better defensemen all of a sudden at game 50 or whatever they're at. So that kind of is what it is. And then Calgary. The Red Wings kicked off a West Coast road trip starting with a few straight games in Canada. So that's Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver, which means no Tyler Bertuzzi, because as of yet, there is no inkling that the federal government is going to change their minds on requirement of a vaccination to enter, and there's no inclination or indication that Tyler Bertuzzi is going to change his mind on vaccination, and so Tyler won't be playing those 3 games. He's also close, like his partner's close to having their baby, so I think at any moment we might be hearing that, like, Tyler, depending on the timing, might have to like leave the Seattle game next Saturday or something. Who knows?
Might have to pull a Phil.
Yeah, play 30 seconds and then go home for the birth of your child. Anyways, all the best to them on that, because I know that should be coming soon. But yeah, the Calgary game. No Bertuzzi and no Robby Fabbri, who for the 3rd time in his career tore his ACL.
That is some unfathomably bad luck.
It's not luck at that point, right? That has to be genetics. Like,
he's got that platinum purchase card since he's been there so long.
Yeah, honestly, they have a room for him.
He's got ACLs made of paper mache.
I think it just has to be a genetic thing. Anyways, that is his other knee, and I think that's better.
Is it better or worse? Because he had one good knee as of like 3 days ago. Now he's got no good knees.
I don't think he was particularly, at 100% in terms of foot speed after 2 ACL tears. So I'm not going to speculate as to how well he's going to come back from that in terms of his skating. It's definitely a grueling recovery. Like, I don't wish that on anyone. So you have to feel for him going through it a 3rd time, physically and mentally. That's got to be devastating. But he's out for sure the rest of the season. The hope is that he's back for training camp next year. And it's a shot to the forward group, because going into that game,
second line, Adam Murney.
And I don't really know what else there was to do. Like, there wasn't really too much else.
We got teased in practice, the VVZ line. We haven't seen it yet.
The lines were Nemesnikov, Larkin, Raymond. It was, what is it? Veleno, Zadina, Ernie?
Gagne?
Gagne?
whatever fourth line plug was available. That's basically what it was.
It was Nemestikov, Larkin, Raymond, Zadina, Suter, Ernie, Vrana, Veleno, Gagne, Smith, Rasmussen, and they called up Luke Witkowski. Look, I like Zadina. I like Suter. A Zadina, Suter, Ernie line isn't going to do anything. A Vrana, Veleno, Gagne line. Yeah, Vrana's a threat. Gagne's not really, the kind of person to maximize that threat, and Veleno's not carrying that line on his own. And you can appreciate Nemestikov when he has to slot up to that first line, but it's not ideal. The Red Wings faced off against the Flames, who are a cup contending team. They played heavy against them. They shut them down. There was just nothing. There's just nothing for the Red Wings all game.
One shot halfway through the game.
Just about, yeah. They finished the second period with 5 shots on goal total through the first 40 minutes. And believe it or not, the second period was better than the first.
Yeah, I think you're going to need more than 5 shots to beat one of the best goalies in the league right now.
31-5 was the shots through 2 periods, and the score was miraculously only 1-0. So the defense wasn't a complete failure, and Thomas Greiss was playing pretty well. I actually thought this was going to be one of those stupid games where the Red Wings stole the win.
Yep.
When they had absolutely no right to do it, but it just
didn't. And they did not.
And they did not. Today's heartbreaking stat that Prashanth put out, including last night, the Red Wings PK has only killed 38.1% of its penalties in the last 10 games.
That is...
How many penalties have they taken? What's the sample size?
21.
Holy shit.
They killed 8 of 21 penalties.
When they do the puppy calendar, they could probably put the puppies out there and it might be better.
It honestly could
be cuter.
At first, my brain inverted it. I'm like, oh, they've only killed just short of 62%.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, oh man, the other team's power play is operating at 38% against the Red Wings. That's horrific.
No.
Oh my
God. Double.
I'm sure you can find small stretches of 10 games where the best and worst teams have stats like that on either end of the spectrum.
Not the best teams. No, not that bad.
No, the inverse, they're that good.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But it almost, if I didn't trust Prashanth, and I put this in the group chat, if I didn't trust him, I wouldn't believe it. I'd be like, no, you're missing something obvious. This is
probably the worst stretch so far of Red Wings hockey we've watched in a while.
This has got to be one of the worst stretches any PK on any team has had in decades. It feels incomprehensible.
It's for sure got to be up there with one of the worst 10-game stretches since the post 2004 lockout.
Since the Tankathon teams.
Yeah. Anyhow, the Red Wings put up nothing. They lost 3-0, and it's kind of miraculous. It was only 3. The lineup looked destitute without Bertuzzi and Fabbri. That was a big shot. There was no adjustments made. I was kind of hoping that Blasha would go into the third period, see that they only had 5 shots, and stick Vrana or Zadina or someone on the first line just to overload it and force the issue, because the first line was being shut down, and that's pretty much all you have to do to win against the Red Wings right now. Didn't really see it. Would it have made a difference? No, because Calgary is that good. The most notable things to happen in that game were the players lining up to shake Dean Morton's hand, who retired after the game, and Johnny Gaudreau poking his blade into Larkin's butt in the handshake line, and then Larkin stealing a stick. That was it.
I mean, well, are we going to ignore the classic most Red Wings thing to Red Wing? The Red Wings recall Taro Hirose.
Oh, yeah.
And so obviously they were down a bunch of bodies, so he was ready to play in Calgary, which, doesn't feel super notable. Taro Hirose's just a guy, and they had to recall a guy. And then a day later, they recall Luke Witkowski and play Luke Witkowski in that game in Calgary, despite Taro Hirose being from Calgary.
Is he from Winnipeg?
No, I heard he was from Calgary, wasn't he? I think he might have been born somewhere else, but he grew up in Calgary. I could have that information wrong.
His hockey DB says born in Winnipeg. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was reading that he either played junior in Calgary or grew up in Calgary. But either way.
Well, should be better than Luke Witkowski then.
Mike Babcock lives on.
I saw Lucic fought
Giovanni Smith. Yeah, and that was their second of the year, and Lucic did get the better of him.
That he gets the better of everybody.
He's
a Neanderthal.
He knows how to fight.
He is so strong.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking Giovanni Smith is a very strong person.
Yeah.
The way Lucic just like manhandles other like ultra strong guys is insane.
He knows how to.
Oh yeah.
He's like technically.
It's that blonde hair. Does he still have that? I don't know.
I don't think so. Well, he might. I don't know. Anyhow, that's the Red Wings upcoming on this road trip. They have an Edmonton team who's got a lot of questions to answer, and they have a Vancouver team.
They beat Tampa last night.
Yeah. And then they have a Vancouver team after that on Thursday where
they got Boost Brujo.
Yeah, Boost.
Boost.
They're gunning for a playoff spot. It's not going to be easy. I mean, the worst team that they're going to play in the stretch is Seattle, and that's next weekend, and it's going to be tough. Before getting into some additional news, we're going to take a break here to let you know that this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast is proudly brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, a sponsor that gives hockey fans what we really need, even more excitement in the game. There's so many reasons FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, from ease of use and registration, deposits, and finding your best bet, to withdrawals, which are quick and easy. FanDuel pays your winnings back in as little as 24 hours. They're always running great odds boosts and specials every day with some big super boosts each weekend. Now listen to this. FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Just place a bet on any game, and FanDuel will refund you up to $1,000 back in site credit if you don't win that first bet. No strings attached. If you win, you keep the cash. If you lose, you get that grand back in site credit. Now, what we want you to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started with that risk-free bet of up to $1,000, and be sure to sign up with promo code WWP so they know the Winged Wheel podcast sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code WWP. You must be 21 and older and present in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, West Virginia, Indiana, Colorado, Iowa, Tennessee, Virginia, or Michigan. First online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-9-WITHIN in Indiana, 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia, Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789, 1-800-GAMBLER.net West Virginia, or call 1-800-270-7117 in Michigan. Thomas Greiss on the market. Some noise around him too.
Can you please refresh me on what his contract is?
Expiring.
What's his dollar amount again?
3 and change?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Hear me out, Toronto. Paying half. We'll retain half. You flip us a third.
Greiss isn't getting a third.
If I would take a 7th for Greiss at this point. There's not really a purpose to keeping him for the rest of the season.
And let's be honest, there's no way Calvin Pickard could be any worse outside of that one game Greiss has had in the last 2 months.
He's making 3.6. He's a UFA. The Red Wings can retain the money if they want to. Whatever, they're probably not going to bring him back, right? They're going to want someone probably a little younger, probably cheaper, or if they're not as cheap, a little bit more solid than what Greiss has been. If someone wants to pay any asset for Greiss, take him. Plain and simple. I'd be surprised if they did, but the goalie market's weird. If you have a goalie that you think absolutely should fetch something on the market, probably won't get traded.
We're another week away from the trade deadline, right?
Yeah, we're a week and a day at the time.
Anything can change. Absolutely. Goalies can go down and tweak their groin and be out for a month and a half all the time.
Yeah. So what's realistic value you can expect for Greiss? Let's say like it's not a package, it's just pick for Greiss. What would you say?
5th or 6th?
Yeah. That's what I'd peg it at.
I already made my offer.
What did you say?
A third.
Third? Oh, okay. Hey, if they get a third for Greiss, I think that's a, not that you're going to be doing backflips for an extra 3rd round pick, but I think that's a steal for value. I don't think he's back this offseason anyway. So yeah, bring up Pickard, have him play out the rest of the season is what it is. You're not making the playoffs. You're not.
What?
Sorry. Hate to break it to you. You're not anticipating winning a bunch of games. So whether it's Pickard or Nedeljkovic, you just have to bear through the rest of the season. There you go. That's all you need to do. I was surprised though with the amount of noise around Greiss. I was like, does Fleury have to be dealt for Greiss to get dealt? Or
he said he wasn't moving.
Yeah, I don't know about that still.
Fleury half retained is the same cost as Greiss, none retained, essentially.
GMs are weird. I just keep thinking Ken Holland's going to do it.
Of course. Yeah, who is it, the two that he already tried to acquire? Korpisalo and Jones, who are both terrible.
That's on brand.
Didn't draft Wallstedt, which obviously wouldn't be a
Probably
solution
called
right
up
now.
Jimmy and asked him how he was doing.
Yeah, Jimmy's enjoying retirement, man. He's not coming back. But yeah, that's Thomas Greiss available. Okay, that's Red Wings news. I'm just happy we have Vrana back. That's legitimately the only saving grace right now. I'm happy we're able to talk about Vrana scoring again. I'm happy he's able to play on this team. I will be happier when he has a little bit more firepower on the offensive lines. So these next couple games might be a little bit touch and go with offense. But after Bertuzzi is able to slot back in, then might get rolling again. Why don't we get into a prospect profile? And let's start with that player that we thought we were going to do last time, but we got too hung up talking about that loss. Out of the Czech Republic, right-handed defenseman David Jiricek. Brad, take us away.
Boring but effective. It's kind of, yeah, he's not the flashiest defenseman in the world, but he's effective, efficient, and very well-rounded. He's like, I think, who is it? Pronman does the NHL average, above average, below average ranking. Yeah, he's literally NHL average across the board.
No, he was above average on compete and shot.
Okay, shot and compete. But he, like I said, he fits that profile very well because he does everything well. He's a good puck distributor. He's not a great skater, but he's a good enough skater. He's got good vision, can transition the puck well, can defend well, can run the offensive zone well. Like I guess it's fair too. He's got a bomb of a shot, so he can absolutely crush a puck from the point. Not the most exciting player to talk about because, you know, you want to talk about, you know, McDavid's speed or Seider's physicality or stuff like that. It's not there with Jiricek, but it works. Like, you know, you think, do I think he's going to come over here and put up 50, 60, 70 points in a season? No. But, you know, if he falls somewhere between a, you know, Jacob Slavin type, maybe a little lighter, where, hey, he's going to do everything you need him to do on the ice and contribute just enough offense to be worthwhile on a top pair or a second pair. That's probably best case scenario for Jiricek. He shoots right, so it doesn't feel a direct need for the Red Wings. But the Red Wings have always been big on best player available. They don't draft for positions. So given Jiricek's profile, what the Red Wings look for in a player, where he's projected to go, where the Red Wings are projected to pick, he is definitely someone we need to keep an eye on.
I see a big defenseman, 6'3", who moves well enough, is effective at all ends of the ice, makes, you know, smart passes, is consistent, is solid defensively, can contribute offensively, has a heavy shot and knows how to work the power play and, you know, be a threat in the offensive zone. It's got Steve Yzerman written all over it, right? I understand that the Red Wings, depending on how this shakes out, like, you know, Frank Nazar or a center in that range is probably going to be a little bit more preferable in a lot of people's minds. But, you know, the right side of the Red Wings defense, is it the biggest need right now? No. Is it settled for the future for when they want to be contending for cups? Also, no. So if the Red Wings view Jiricek as the best player available wherever they're picking, which is 7 to 10 range because they're not going to win in the lottery, he's viable there to me, and I like the pick. Is it just because he's an effective all-around defenseman? Yeah, of course. That's always going to be something I prefer, but removing the need for a centerman, I see a lot of advantage for Jiricek's game, and I see a lot of him fitting into the Red Wings system. Everything from how hard he works to how well-rounded he is to, you know, the size and the tools and the fact that he's not just a big body and that he's not just the skill or athleticism. He's a combination of all, and he has the ability to execute. Not flashy, sure. He's not the world's fastest skater, and he's not Cale Makar out there. But I see someone who, on a hypothetical future Red Wings blue line, whether first or second pair on the right side, could be a really, really effective player, especially considering who they have on the left side. So, or who they might have on the left side.
The Red Wings are stockpiling checks.
They are.
It's probably also worth noting that his season ended at the World Juniors due to a knee injury.
Yeah, he had that. So
that little
lingering concern there. Like, do you think he'll drop down the board because of that?
I don't know. You went to medical school.
I did not.
Oh,
Yeah.
staying out of this one.
Mom, Dad, turn this off. Well, we remember Peyton Krebs, right? Tore his Achilles, fell down the draft board. Probably a lot of people regret that now.
Yep.
But it's also not always a bad move to ignore players with that injury history. So
Fun aside, I think Jeff Merrick was telling a story on his podcast that a bunch of teams in the first round put Krebs on their do not draft in the first round because of the Achilles, and the Sabres were one of them.
oh, that's really funny.
Yeah. So
And he came. That's
the way things work out sometimes.
Yeah. Your thoughts on Jiricek and the concept of taking a right-handed defenseman at the top of the first round?
Yeah, I don't think he's the best fit for Detroit, because I think, there's a lot of guys I think who will be all sort of around the same range of where teams have them on their boards. And you know what, if there's a tiebreaker, it'll be position of need. And I think if he was left-handed, it would be a lot different.
Yeah.
Or I think it'll come down to being a center, like needing a centerman, something else. I like his game a lot. Like you guys said, he doesn't do anything bad. He's got a good shot, which, helps at the NHL level. I think he'll be a top 4 guy on any team, and he'll be the kind of guy who, barring injury, will be a guy who plays a long time just because he's got all the right tools and he's super well rounded. He's like the type of guy who plays for like 20 years and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that guy was drafted like 6th overall in his draft. That's what kind of screams to me. Would I be happy if Detroit drafted him? Yeah, because you've basically got an assured top 4 defenseman. But it doesn't alleviate any of the other issues we've been witnessing all year.
Do we overrate the right side of Detroit's defense?
Probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Considering none of them have played in the NHL yet.
Mo Seider's the only certainty over there.
Yes. We don't say this out loud enough, but Filip Hronek's competitive future on this team, ideally, if Filip Hronek is to stay on this team long term, ideally you want him playing
He's got to be a top 4 or nothing at all.
Well, I'm thinking if he's going to stay, he's got to be playing light second pair, if not third pair minutes, if on a cup competitive Red Wings of the future. Right now, he's not got a lot to play with. Maybe this changes when he has someone on his left side who's substantially better, but as of right now, he's still not thriving like they might have hoped. I don't know a hot take here is that Hronek gets traded, honestly.
And then you look beyond Hronek, it's what? Lindstrom, Stetcher, Tuomisto?
The Red Wings' right side is easy to overlook because they have Seider right now. And Hronek it's not like Hronek's useless. He's out there, he's eating a lot of minutes, and he's playing on a very bad Red Wings defensive core. He has no support. And he plays the same side as Seider, so he'll never play with Seider. So we're probably harder on him, and he still hasn't. Nicoletti's not been good this year, by and large, so it's not like he's been elevated there. But that's why we overlook the right side. If we're talking cup competitive Red Wings in 3 to 5 years, there's work to be done there. Which is why drafting someone like Jiricek isn't unattractive to me.
Yeah, it's not the worst idea in the world. But then you look at their forward prospect depth and you go, yeah, no, that's where we should go.
I understand McTavish was off the board last year, so you don't go for the winger, and they went for Edvinsson, and that's all well and good. And Edvinsson looks to be continuing to crush it over in Sweden, but the Red Wings will need a top 6 center at some point. I don't know where they're going to get it from. It doesn't have to be at the top of the first round, but that's sure.
Or you're going to pay an absolute premium if you trade for him. Or have to sign him as a UFA, because that won't be cheap either.
Or something's got to hit from later down in the rounds. Which, I mean, I'm not saying is impossible, but you can't count on those things happening. You can't always count on getting the gems in later rounds like Point and Kucherov or whatever it is. Anyhow, yeah, in a vacuum, I really like Jiricek. You start to expand it, and then you consider, Frank Nazar. You want Lambert. Whoever else you think might be able to play center, that's when you have to start making those decisions. Glad we're not making them. We just talked about it.
We just criticize everybody who has to.
Okay. The world of the NHL.
I got nothing.
Well, a story I want to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is Jack Eichel returns to Buffalo. Playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, obviously. I love this. This is the best. This is absolutely the best content all around. There are no losers, only winners in this situation. So Jack Eichel returns to Buffalo. He gets his tribute video, which is, classy of the Sabres organization to do.
There's too many tribute videos these days. Everybody's getting one.
No,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Who was it that went on Twitter? Andrew Raycroft was complaining.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Sarcastically.
Was he? Why does that matter? It's a tribute video. Who cares?
Tribute for what?
It doesn't even get played on TV for the most part.
All
It
those
happens
playoff-
Thank God.
commercials. Jack, you're telling me Jack Eichel didn't deserve
I know
a
this
tribute
isn't
video?
part of what you wanted to say.
No, it's okay. It's a
Okay,
podcast,
okay.
man. There's three of us.
Okay. I just think they're...
You think they shouldn't have done one for Jack Eichel?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh my God. What's your bar?
You have to play for the team a long time or you get traded. A Claude Giroux should get a tribute video. When he inevitably moves on, he gets a tribute video.
I don't know.
Mark Stahl, 1,000 games, tribute video.
You're a golfer. You're all into like the old fashioned shows of respect, no matter how illogical.
They
it
don't do
is.
tribute videos out there.
There's no teams.
Exactly.
Anyhow,
This isn't what you wanted to say. So
no, I'm not upset. I'm just your passions are always surprising. This is what gets. Evan
There's
out of
probably
bed.
some childhood memory where like everybody got participation ribbons and it was just bullshit. Something like that.
Everyone but you, apparently.
I probably won and I was like, they don't deserve it because they suck.
Jack Eichel got his tribute video. I think what I heard on TV when it happened, I think it might have been the ESPN broadcast there. Like it was 80% cheers and 20% boos. But when you actually heard the report, it's like, no, most of the arena was booing him.
Boo earns.
Yeah. And he was getting booed hard and he got booed the whole game. And who scored in that game? Peyton Krebs and Alex Tuck, which is just poetic. And they were giving it to Jack.
I love it.
I love that too. Hell yeah, Buffalo. Go for it. Buffalo won. Good for you. Get pumped up off that. And then what did Jack Eichel say after the game? He was obviously peeved because they lost and
he was getting booed.
He's getting booed. And he said, oh, that's the loudest I've ever heard that arena. All it took for them to, in 7 years or whatever, all it took for them to finally get in the game was me leaving, I guess. And he said it a lot more pissed off than that, but he did say it. And I think that's great too. I love that.
More villains, please.
Yeah. If the fans want to talk their shit and he wants to talk his shit, absolutely. It's not a clean situation.
He wanted out. He wanted to not be part of that team. And I'm a fan. I'm booing him every single time. I'm throwing snakes on the ice. Like,
yeah.
I love it. They paid good money. They can do whatever the hell they want.
I mean,
well, maybe not at a Buffalo game, but you know what I mean.
A few folding tables had some regrets
Yeah.
that day. I think they should be more mad at their ownership, or at least just as mad, but who's to say they're not? It's a great way to vent your frustrations. I'm not the kind of person to ever gatekeep. Like, you can't say boo, you suck. No, it's part of being a sports fan. Say boo, you suck. If they sucked or you're pissed off at them, go for it. And I love when the player bites back.
Me too. We need way more of that.
100%. Jack Eichel could have gone out there and sounded like, Sidney Crosby and said, well, I mean, they're a passionate fan base and I know it was a tough time and I can appreciate why some people were upset, and I just want to say I have nothing but respect for the city of Buffalo.
And I hate all of that.
Yeah. And instead he said,
Going for
you,
yeah.
eat shit, see you later. I thought it was
Oh, that's so good.
The NHL could not have written better content. They need more. Brad, you haven't said a word. I'm worried that you didn't like the boos. Agree with me, or I'll be mad.
It depends what context you're coming at for it. Do I agree the Sabres fans should have booed him, or do I love the fact that they did?
Yeah, give us both. Who cares?
I love the fact they did. It's great content. They absolutely should not have booed him, though.
Ah, boo.
Boo, Brad.
Classic old man.
Old man Brad.
You mean the face of the franchise that got no help for 7 years? They wouldn't even let him get a surgery to fix it. Of course he should have wanted out of there. And any fan with half a brain can see why he wanted out of there.
Still.
I'd still boo him.
I
booed less or worse less worse for more. I don't know what I'm trying. You know what I'm trying to say.
got the
You
spirit
booed
thing.
more for less.
Yeah.
You said yeah because you trust that Brad is right, not because you understand.
Hey, I'm hungover.
I'm all for it. Honestly, if I'm a Buffalo fan, which I could never imagine being a Buffalo fan of any sport. Well,
Yeah, well.
could not be me. But if I was a Buffalo Sabres fan and I agreed fully with Jack Eichel, as painful as it was, I still would have gone out there and booed. I think that is your duty as a Buffalo Sabres fan.
Dylan Larkin gets traded to the.
Well, if he requests the trade,
let's say it's apples to apples.
100% same situation.
And he's like, I need out, blah, 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 blah. And he goes to frickin' anybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Colorado. He goes to Colorado.
Oh, it's not Eichel didn't go to a rival.
Okay, he goes to...
Does Buffalo have rivals?
He goes to Los Angeles.
I'm booing him.
Yeah.
I'm booing him every single time he is on the ice.
It does not matter how justified. If the player makes a decision that they want out,
Booed.
You have to. Is it Neanderthalic?
Yeah. But I'm booing.
That's the point. Well,
I'm booing during the tribute video.
They did.
I'm booing the tribute video, not the player.
Oh yeah, that's you. That's you personal.
This is the hardest glimpse we've ever taken into the boomer window in an episode overall.
100%. We're going full out, like old school, no logic, just like big hits, big vibes.
Yeah,
We're like two minutes away from, I don't think goalies should butterfly anymore. They had it right.
Stand
in
up
the
was
80s.
the best.
Bring back hook and grab.
Yeah.
Nobody could shoot like.
Well, they
Apparently
have
they
that.
are.
Just
Oh man, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was a bad missed call.
there was which one, and I hate that I have to ask that.
Look, I'm all for ripping on Leafs fans, but as
That wasn't even one of the ones that
Yeah,
registered
that
in my
wasn't
head.
the one I was thinking either.
which one are you thinking about?
Hyman and
Ovechkin
on Hyman
yeah.
and
I was thinking of the hold on Matthews, and there's the hook on Hyman.
and Kadri.
Yeah. It's bad, man.
Landeskog had the best argument I've ever seen.
I heard that. Yeah, that was really good.
because he was very, we'll call it cordial about it and respectful while still being like scathing and breaking down. Here's why we were mad, because for anybody who missed it, basically Kadri took a high sticking penalty on Niederreiter, and Niederreiter sold it pretty hard, pretty obviously. So obviously the Avs were pissed about it. So they're yelling, it's a dive, it's a dive. The ref came over to the bench and said, the Avs go, it's a dive. And he goes, yeah, but it's still a high stick. And Landeskog said, okay, that's fair enough. And then when Naz comes out of the box, he's going up the ice. He gets hooked, sells it, goes down, no call. So the Avs are pissed again. Ref comes over the bench. They're yelling, that's a hook. And he goes, yeah, but he dove. And then they responded, but it's still a hook. Like, just like through the ref's own logic right back in their face. Like, I don't even think 5 minutes of game time had elapsed.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Luxmore, Waterloo native.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
You're willing to admit that right now, eh? But that little window in that Avalanche Hurricanes game is the epitome of everything wrong with NHL reffing, that it could be that inconsistent by their own logic in that circumstance, that context.
Point well made, Brad. Evan had to leave, and I got to in the time as we were. Listeners will just hear an edit and picking back up, but in that time,
it's like the blip from Avengers.
Yeah, I got to witness your personal reaction to the news that Tom Brady is indeed unretiring.
It literally broke in that gap as Evan was leaving. At least he's in the NFC now.
I witnessed part of you deflate, though.
No, I'm changing my tune. Buffalo needs to get their revenge on him in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We have to send him into retirement. It's only right. It
did feel a little bit too much that it was a Matt Stafford team that sent him to retirement. Like, as someone who's, a big Matt Stafford guy, I was like, this feels like a fanfic. Like, that doesn't seem real. Like, Tom Brady was so close. And I think the Bucks would have beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I had a hard time understanding why he would walk away right then and there. And yeah, he's coming back.
No, it can't be Matt Stafford. It has to be Josh Allen. You will just find me the following morning in a pile of broken folding tables, and I will somehow get 3 cases of Jenny Cream Ale, and it'll be
nothing but Buffalo Bills boxers on.
Zubaz boxers.
Yeah.
I'll have the buffalo hat on.
3 feet of snow. Yeah.
Somehow Hank's still going.
Yeah. Of course he is. Okay, why don't we take some time here and take a look at what the odds are across the NHL in our segment, sponsored by the FanDuel Sportsbook, where we take a look at certain things like Stanley Cup winning odds, conference and division winning odds, team futures, player futures, and maybe even game by game odds. And usually Evan's the balance here to tell you what to actually place as a good bet, and you and I are just a little off the rails. But Evan's gone, so we're pure wild card this time.
Nah, I'm here to lose you money or win you billions. There's no in between.
All right, let's start with the big one. Stanley Cup odds. Who do you have as the odds-on favorite right now? Who would you think it is?
Well, it's obvious, isn't it?
Who?
The Buffalo Sabres. No, they just kicked the shit out of the Leafs. But Stanley Cup favorites, I mean, it's boring, but I've been saying it for 4 years or 5 years now, and I've been right just as often as I've been wrong. It's Tampa until someone takes it from them.
Colorado is a plus 400, and that is the best betting line right now. Tampa's second at a plus 750. So you're saying you would put your money on Tampa currently?
Yes, but the news that broke about Colorado is intriguing because they are in prime position for some cap circumvention here.
Right, because they have some injuries.
Landeskog and Girard are both out potentially for the rest of the regular season. That's a lot of cap space that just freed up, is all I'm saying. Trade deadline's a week away. Colorado's in no danger of missing the playoffs, so
There's
they don't.
Whispers of them wanting maybe a Patrick Kane, a Claude Giroux. They want to do something big.
They're going, if they can get teams to get retained, they could get both.
Hey, if you need a third team to retain, that's Steve Eiserman's music. Like, he wants to step in there.
Yeah. So Colorado's going to go big game hunting. They're going to be able to, I shouldn't say cap circumvention. It's well within the rules, but they'll have that opportunity to ignore the salary cap. Tampa's still unbelievable, deep as ever. You want to pick the Floridas and the Vegases of the world, but they haven't done it yet. Vegas might not even make the playoffs at this point.
I don't care. Like, Vegas is a plus 1,200. You might think those are good odds, but I don't know. They're dealing with quite a bit of injury, and they're missing some key players. Like, you don't lose Mark Stone and get better. Plain and simple. I'm avoiding Vegas right now. With any money, I'm avoiding Vegas. Put that money on Calgary at plus 1,000 instead.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
Daryl Sutter's got a history of taking good teams and making them great.
Yeah.
Like, we just saw Calgary, how they can absolutely stifle an awful team. But Daryl Sutter has done it to good teams before, too. Johnny Gaudreau's playing at an MVP level. Elias Lindholm's having a career year. Markstrom, I think he leads the league in shutouts because, of course, he does. Like, look how good Calgary is, and Sean Monahan's fallen off a cliff.
Yeah. That's he was like third, fourth line.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're this good, and he's not contributing. Like, that is... it's impressive how he's pulled together that team, and honestly, the roster construction. They have some of like quiet. I know it's a meme at this point, but quietly some of the best players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Greater than the sum of their parts. I like them a lot at plus 1,000.
Yeah, that's a really good bet.
Minnesota plus 2,000. I don't know. I don't see a team that's letting in 5 against the Red Wings. I don't think that they're playing at a level right now where I'm putting cup money on them.
Oh, you're not a big Cam Talbot guy, huh?
Okay, how about this? Boston Bruins plus 2,500.
No, I don't think they have the horses for it this year. And I like their goaltending, but I don't trust their goaltending, if that makes sense.
No, but...
And I really don't trust their depth.
They'll be in a playoff spot, though. And
yeah.
And a lot of those guys have a lot of playoff experience.
Not as many as you would think.
No, that's true. We are further removed from a Boston Cup win than people appreciate.
It's been 11 years.
Oh my God. Were they 2011?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. See? Case in point. Toronto plus 1,200. I mean, if you're putting money on Toronto to win the cup, I feel like you should get a bigger award than that.
I'm not even putting Toronto plus 1,200 to get out of the first round. I mean, they just had their premier game, the Heritage Classic outdoor, and got smoked by the Sabres. That team is fundamentally broken.
I like Florida at plus 800, and I like Calgary at plus 1,000. I do not blame you if you put money on Colorado or Tampa Bay, Colorado being the odds-on favorite, but I think 3 cups in a row is incredibly hard in this era. I would probably place Colorado as a favorite, but for some more favorable odds, I really like Calgary, actually.
Yeah, I like Florida, but their odds line's not big enough for me. Got to get into those 4 digits before I'm making my bet.
Who is? Oh,
Plus
man.
1,000. Let's go, Calgary.
That's fair. Okay, let's look at some conference and division win. Eastern Conference, Tampa Bay and Florida are pretty much neck and neck at plus 380 and plus 400.
Nah, that division's set. There's no fun here. Not set, but like
To win the division?
any of those 3 teams could win it, and it's not that fun.
Where's Carolina? Because Carolina right now is plus 500, and they actually have the best points percentage, just barely ahead of Florida. I'm not putting money on Tampa there. I'm putting money on Carolina or Florida.
You talking about division or conference?
Conference.
Oh, okay. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carolina would be a good one.
And then Western Conference, it's Colorado, and then maybe Calgary catches up. Like Colorado's plus 175.
Calgary might catch up, though. Like we just said, Colorado's down Landeskog and Girard. So if they strike out at the deadline, they could, I don't want to say struggle, but they could give Calgary life.
Yeah, that's true. Calgary's not like an unfathomable amount behind.
But I'm not making that bet until the deadline passes, if that makes sense. Because if Colorado ends up with Giroux or Kane or somebody or Chikrin, yeah, I don't know if I'm betting against them, no matter how good the odds are.
Chikrin's flying back to Arizona with an injury.
Yeah, that's fair.
You have to see how bad that is.
Man, and the Coyotes were really making a run for it there. Like, kind of unironically. What did they win? 4-5 in a row. They took out Colorado, Toronto, the Red Wings, just the absolute powerhouses of the NHL.
The worst 2 teams in the league right now in the standings are Arizona and Montreal. Arizona's 6-4 in their last 10, and Montreal's 7-2-1.
What is this league?
Yeah. Seattle's actually by points percentage below Arizona in the standings. They should be the 31st. It's just that Seattle's played 3 more games.
This league is so dumb. I love it.
Yeah, I think there's some good, like, Stanley Cup odds are always a little scary to me because hockey fans know how crazy the playoffs can get and how an unfathomably wild card team
Ken Holland, you just have to get in. You just have to get there.
St. Louis, they just got in. LA, however many years back,
St. Louis just got in, but they were the best team in the league.
Washington,
mid-January on. When LA won the Cup, they were the best team in the league from January on. They had slow starts and went into the playoffs on absolute heaters. They do not qualify.
Boston is on an absolute heater right now.
Yeah, and that could fit.
Yeah.
That could fit.
Anyhow, let us know what you have lines on. We always like to see how other people are smarter than us and win a little bit more money. So thank you to the FanDuel Sportsbook for sponsoring this segment.
I only need to win 1 out of every 10 bets I make to make it worthwhile.
And let's jump into overtime here. And we'll start off with our Patreon supporters. They're the reason we're able to do this show, and they're the reason we're able to have the fun that we can do and get this podcast out to you twice a week. So thank you, local Winged Wheel Podcast patron. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to support the show. And they also got a coupon code recently to buy something from the Winged Wheel Podcast shop. Okay. From Matt Keeler says, after these last few games, just give us prospect profiles. Yeah, it's going to be tough for the next little while, Matt, and that's what we're going to do. Let's just all hang in there together. Don't expect a lot from the back half. Okay, what else do we have? Marcus says, Marcus, new name level sponsor. Thank you so much, Marcus, for your support. It really means a lot. Says, hey boys, long-time listener, first-time patron. Why can't our hockey team do good hockey? The hockey players are...
We've spent 7 years on this podcast trying to figure it out. When we have an answer, we'll stop.
Red Wings superfan Randy says, is there something I'm missing about Zadina's game that gets him buried in the bottom 6 with grinders playing 12 minutes a night? I don't understand why he's not put in a position to succeed. Giovanni Smith had more ice time tonight, and he sat out 5 minutes for fighting. It's ridiculous.
I don't have a good answer there.
Philip Zadina has the shortest leash of any Red Wings on the team right now. Does he play a flawless game? No. Do I personally think that if his leash wasn't so short, he wouldn't overthink so many plays and cough up the puck as much as he does? Yeah. Very obviously, this guy is he's a player where the mental matters. And you can't brute force every player like that. I understand there's different coaching styles, and there's some players who will never get over it. And it's not like, oh, every turnover is not Zadina's fault, it's Blashill's. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm not really in favor of benching the guy or having him play no minutes from the second period on, halfway through the second period on, whatever it was, when A, the team has 5 shots on goal, and B, when is a better time to make these mistakes and break out of it when you're not going to make the playoffs, you're not expecting to win games, and the rest of the team is doing jack shit either. Like, do I have we're all guilty of having a big soft spot for Filip Zadina. Like, that's the bias, and we'll always call that out, but I don't know, man. He just disappeared. You need to give him a chance to fight back. And he just gets in his own head, and that's why he tries to do too much with the puck. He thinks that every play needs to be stellar or he's not going to skate the next shift. And, like, unfortunately, that's what we've seen.
But Blashill has this long track record of being overly hard on the young skill players, and they all work out, every one of them, so.
Miss Days says the wheels have officially fallen off. The all-important culture of the team is suffering, and I fear risk of long-term damage. Trade every UFA who isn't named Stahl. Oh, we didn't talk about Stahl's 1,000th game.
Rockstar shit.
Yeah, those shirts are cool.
I'm so mad that they're not publicly available for sale.
Yeah. Clean out the bench. The team cannot think that this kind of stretch is acceptable. Do you think we can pick up a left-handed D at the deadline that isn't a fit with their team anymore? Provorov on the expensive side. Peterson if the Penguins want to clear up some cap with their $4+ million left-handed defenseman.
I am very in favor of either of those moves.
How has Peterson's season been? I'm
not good. That's why he would be available.
I'm not giving up a lot to get him, you know?
No.
I think they already gave up too much to get Leddy, and I don't think they're going to get that return.
No, I don't. With his contract, I don't think Peterson would cost very much at all. You're basically agreeing to take the contract, which in it of itself is a risk, but.
Connor Dukes says, and this is just a congratulatory thing, says things I'm excited for in 2022. The Red Wings will almost definitely win again. Bold take. And I'm going to become a dad. Connor, congratulations, man. You're joining Brad.
Sleep now.
Yeah. Jeremy Dahl says, that was certainly something. I was at the Calgary game in person with my fiance for her first live Wings game. Oh God, I'm so sorry. At the end of the first, the shots were 12-1, and I think they were like 18 or 19-1. I thought, well, this is a good example of what it's like to have been a Wings fan. Then it was 30-5, and I lost track. I'm fully on the fire Blash wagon. The team looked sluggish, slow, uninspired. Special teams were awful. I think Calgary scored on every single power play. At least Greiss played well. Only memorable thing of the game. Can you tell me and Chantel everything is going to be okay? Yeah, but just not anytime soon. I-99 says 8 days until the trade deadline. Friedman said yesterday that the Sharks have apparently decided to keep Hurdle, and Merrick said nobody is calling for Giroux. Most boring trade deadline ever incoming.
How is there nobody calling for Giroux?
I think
I don't buy that for a second.
I have to imagine maybe the price was set a bit high, but for a player of Giroux's caliber, they always circle back. There's just over a week left. That is an eternity in trade deadline time. I think every trade deadline is liable to be boring. Most of them are, but
they never live up. Like Red Wings are like, oh, we're in a rebuild. This trade deadline is going to be amazing. I mean, we're realistically looking at like a 4th for Nick Leddy, a 6th for Greiss, and like a 3rd for Nemesnikov being the best case scenario. Like a 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th, unless Eisman really decides to go off the deep end, which could happen.
Hello, I'm Aaron, and I like to smoke and yell at the Red Wings on television. Says, is Jakub Vrana what we thought Zadina could be after Zadina was drafted?
Pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, not the exact same player, but in terms of the scoring, yeah, I think that was the best case scenario of what Zadina could be. Which I think that's gone for Zadina now. There's not really much to say there in terms of him turning into as natural of a scorer, but I do think there is some space above Zadina's head to improve as a scorer. And we will take one or two more here. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious says, is there something I'm missing? Vrana scores 3 times in 2 games and is on the 3rd line.
I got nothing.
They're trying to spread out the talent, right?
Easing him back. He hasn't been playing a ton of minutes.
Easing him back. They need to get Veleno with guys who can move the puck and convert on chances, which I agree is important. They need to have not all of their talent on one line because a great team will be able to shut that down. Although I think then a great team just shut down Larkin and Raymond because Domestikov wasn't too much of a factor. So there's that. Yeah, that's essentially it. Like when you have when Ernie on the second line is reprehensible, but you understand how they got there, you're lacking. Like the Red Wings forward group is severely lacking now. Okay, let's take one or two Reddit questions here before wrapping up and recording our Patreon exclusive overtime. Squish the Fish says, is Ned actually this bad? Has he played too much? Has he been coached out of being good? What's going on here?
Goalie's a mental game. Had a bad stretch. Snowballed. That's all it is.
He's way better than how he's playing now. It's not to say, everything's going to be okay and like absolutely 100% and just keep playing Ned and it's everyone else's fault but his. No, of course. Every goalie has a cold streak. Every goalie, like Brad said, sometimes goalies have bad seasons. Ned's playing on a brand new team. Most nights gets next to no defensive support. Like you said, playing more games than he ever has. If this happens every season, then it's a concern. But you'll see that most Red Wings fans are just kind of like, yeah, you understand how we got here. Winter Swan 4334 says, how long do you guys think it will be until we have 5 Swedish players on the ice at once?
Could we do it now? No, we only have one Swedish defenseman.
It'll take a little while.
What about up front?
Raymond.
We don't have a Swedish center.
No.
Don't have a Swedish left winger, although Soderblom soon. Berggren doesn't play center either.
You could stick Raymond and Berggren on opposite wings.
Yeah, but then you still don't get a Swede beside them. You could eventually, there'll be a shift, I'm sure, where Edvinsson and Lindstrom are on the ice at the same time.
Yeah.
But until they get that Swedish center.
Can't even get a top 6 center. We can't be particular about the nationality. It might be a few years is what we're saying. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Just a heads up, upcoming episodes. The next one will likely post Thursday. That'll be our trade deadline preview. And then after that, it won't be a Sunday episode. We're going to wait until after the trade deadline wraps up on Monday. Monday evening, you'll see our trade deadline wrap-up episode. So that's our trade deadline coverage for you. I'd like to thank all of our listeners, the sponsors of this episode, the FanDuel Sportsbook, and our name-level sponsors, Arjun Shankar, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Kyle Karagitz, Nick Perks, Brett Bailey, Terry Driver of the number 69 Crying Ryan Hannah's Banana Slamma Jamathon, Taylor Tagel, Matthew M. Rice, B. Diz, Boos Lobsinger, Carl Brutanen Analuski, Chimmy, Citizen High Five, CJ Sully, Craig Kibble, Daniel Garcia, Derek Enstam, DJ Denton, Give Blood, Fight Probert, Greach, Han Ali, Honeysuckle Scented Farts, Hassam Al-Qassem, Jay Gollum, Evan's not here to laugh at the jokes today, Jacob Turner, Justin in the Angry Mob, Kalen Wood, King Tone, Kyle Hashman, Marcus, brand new name level sponsor, thank you, Matt McKay, R.A., Scott Martin, Stay Fresh Cheese Bags, Zach Spring, Yves Bartels, Andrew Bohan, Sam Bankson, Adam I Wish Could Finish Like Ernie, Antonio Gracias, Babe Landeskog, Ben Barron, Connor Leighton, Dave W., Eric Sinkowski, Evans Bingo Card, Hello, I'm Aaron and I like to smoke and yell at the Red Wings on television, James Laporte, Jeremiah Dobo, Jeremy Brocker, John Evans, Josh Yelton, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Logan Stull, Matt Keeler, Matt S., Max $1 million, Revi DeLuca, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Terry Actual, the bit of the ol' up the bum fun starring Johnny Hockey, Trevor Pepovar, Zach Handyside, and Zach McCann, a driving range superstar. Thank you, weirdos, so much. We'll see you for trade deadline coverage.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.